Shit. What's up, y'all? It's Just Desserts Podcast. I'm your host, Sniperdoe. Let's get ready for another episode. All right. Kind of want to go away from the history, but the history and black ways and all that, and go back. Well, you know what I mean? Come into a whole different subject. Some subject matter that some men need to know. You know what I mean? Especially black men. Especially black men from here that come from our generation and the generations previous and all of that. Now, I got a lot of background information on the subject, and so I kind of know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? First off, black dads. Keep doing your motherfucking thing. Now, you come from where we come from and the type of situations that we come from, and fatherhood, and misrepresentation of our fatherhood and what our fatherhood actually is. Like, man, you're doing a great job. I don't know too many deadbeats, man. I can just honestly say that. Now, first off, let me absolve us, my demographic, real niggas. You know what I mean? Real niggas. I don't know no real niggas that's deadbeats. I need motherfuckers to understand when it's genuine, it's always genuine with everything. You know what I mean? When you are a real nigga, that means you are a real nigga to your family first. You know what I mean? If you believe in God, then you're a real nigga when it comes to, you're a true believer when it comes to God. You are a real nigga to your family. There ain't no getting out. There ain't no, I ain't been there. You know, situations are situations. But I do want to talk to the men of our generation first, and I need to kind of absolve your dads, or to get you to understand the perspective. You know what I mean? My thing is trying to get you to all understand like alternative perspectives when it comes to certain shit. If you never got a chance to have that conversation with your dad, if your dad was spanked and he wasn't in your life before he was spanked, or he died before you got a chance to have that conversation, you know what I mean? It's time that we, at this age, it's time that you like understand some shit. Now, first off, let me absolve my dad. Man, I had a dad my whole motherfucking life. And my dad was a nigga just like me. Motherfuckers will say like, man, you just like your motherfucking pops and shit. I like to think I'm better though, you know what I mean? That's just me, you know what I mean? Pop probably swing on me if I said that shit, but you know, rest in peace to my dad. He passed away in 2020, you know what I mean? And since my dad passed away in 2020, it made me empathize more with, I'm not a son no more. You know what I mean? So you can empathize with things as a son and looking up at your dad, but once you lose your dad, you empathize as a father. So I empathize with the fathers now and examining my own fatherhood, because I'm a great dad my goddamn self, you know what I mean? But there's some perspectives that a lot of men in our generation didn't get to understand about our dads and what we come from. You know, everything goes back to slavery and segregation and the men that we are and the men that we turned out to be due to the shit that we had forced on us. So I think at this age, you should be able to understand manhood, the trials and tribulations of it, the pitfalls of it, the avoidance, the acceptance, the maturity, the fact that most of us in our community and shit like that, and you know, a lot of us, like, we stem from teenage pregnancy. That's just how it is. I can sit here and tell you, like, man, my dad had me, he was 18 years old. My mom was 16. I grew up with my parents. My dad just died a couple years ago, 5 years ago, and my mom's still running around kicking, you know what I mean? We grew up with our parents and shit, so you have to realize one or two things. Think about who the fuck you was at 16, 17, 18 years old. And think about who you are now, right? Completely different person probably. Now give that same grace to your parents and understand like none of this shit is new, you know what I mean? Like, man, we're just on a repeating loop when it comes to people generation after generation. So it's basically like, damn, the same grace that you have to give yourself and wishing somebody will understand you, you got to give that shit to your pop too, yo. You know what I mean? And the fact that since a lot of us come from young parenting, young situations, that's just kind of what it is where we come from in the black community, where parents is like young as fuck. Motherfuckers turn, man. We was talking about this with my mans and shit. Like, if your dad was that dude in high school, right? So let's say 15, 16, 17 years old, basketball star, football star, whatever, cool nigga, you know what I mean? Hustling motherfucker, whatever he is, fly nigga, handsome motherfucker. All this is at the behest of his parents, the parenting. He's still being taken care of, right? You know what I mean? So your mom came along and she chose him because he that dude, or he been that dude, or something like that. Handsome motherfucker, cool, whatever it is. He knock your mom up, pregnant with you. Now the transition from him being that to being independent and being on his own, some motherfuckers don't transition well. How many niggas you know 50 Cent? Damn, homie, in high school you was the man, homie. What the fuck happened to you? That might be who a lot of your fathers is. You know what I mean? Certain things took them certain ways. So I kind of want you to understand a different perspective on your father, black fatherhood, especially in our era. You know what I mean? Like the crack era. You know what I mean? Most of us grew up in that shit. You know what I mean? We know what it looked like when niggas start coming to school and they just didn't have new school clothes. They ain't had new school shoes and shit like that. You know what I mean? You knew somebody was fucked up in that house, you know what I mean, was getting high or some shit like that. 9 times out of 10, it was a nigga's mom or a nigga's dad or some shit like that. And there's a whole generation of motherfuckers that didn't know what it felt like to have a man in the house and shit, right? Now, my dad was around my whole motherfucking life and shit, but I ain't lived with him. I lived with his mom and dad. That's who raised me and shit. So the same upbringing that he got is the same upbringing that I got. And here you got the nigga before you. But a lot of men never got a chance to have that conversation with their pops, and they just grew up listening to their mothers. You know what I mean? Hearing their mother's version of events. And there's a lot of men that have got a chance to hear their dad's side of things. Let me drop something on you though, like, you know what I mean? It might fuck you up a little bit. Some motherfuckers might be like, man, goofy ass nigga, man, whatever, you know what I mean? Fuck you. What I'm gonna say to you is this. A lot of you niggas might have worked out better not having your pop around, man. Stop taking that shit so personal. Stop hanging your hat on the fact that, man, I ain't had no dad, man, so I don't know how to. You know how to be man, nigga. You know how to be a fucking man. It didn't matter if you had a man in the house or not, nigga. You know how to be a man. There was tons of men around you, nigga. You had uncles. You had granddads. You had motherfucking big bros in the hood and shit like that. All of them niggas wasn't goofy. We all black men, we all go through the same type of shit and the same type of circumstances and shit like that. Nigga, especially if you old and you got kids now. Niggas be extending y'all mothers, we extend our mothers a level of grace that we just don't extend to our fathers. You know what I mean? Like, and us as men, you gotta understand that we're privy to the same strife, stress, problematic behavior, trauma, PTSD, and all of that shit as every motherfucking body else. We just expected to carry it better because we're men. But sometimes they think sometimes I think we tend to think that we're supposed to be Superman when that just ain't the motherfucking choice. You know what I mean? That just ain't reality. Like, man, stop harping on that shit, man. You turned out all right. There ain't no motherfucking excuses. I ain't had no dad, nigga. You better attach yourself to some motherfucking body. There was somebody that you looked up to that was a real nigga. You know what I mean? There was somebody that you fucked with that was a real nigga. Now, whether you got misguided or not, that's on you. I think we all kind of got misguided. But let me tell you something about having a dad. And I had a solid ass dad, man. Rest in peace to Big Bruce, man. My dad was the fucking man. You understand? Everybody's dad ain't Big Bruce. Everybody's dad ain't Mr. Greg. Everybody's dad ain't Mr. Leroy. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's dad ain't Mr. Wiley. Everybody's dad ain't that. You know what I mean? You could have had a dad in your motherfucking life, and your dad could have been a bitch ass nigga. And he could have raised you to be a bitch ass nigga. A no account, lazy motherfucker. Because here's the things that you don't understand about dads, and I know this because I'm a dad. A father can handicap you if he isn't secure enough in his manhood to understand that he has to raise you to be a man because you are his baby. And when, especially for men that like us that have been through so motherfucking much, when you've been through as much as we've been through, you don't want shit to hurt your children. So we tend to be a little bit overprotective. Like, I'm overprotective with my chick. You know what I mean? I'm definitely overprotective with my babies. Now, if I'm not conscious of the fact that Yo, I'm raising a man here. You'll cripple your motherfucking sons, and you'll make your sons a bitch ass nigga. And you'll make your daughters them prissy ass princesses that can't keep a man because she don't respect a man because you never told her no. You gotta be conscious of that as a real dude because you're overprotective. Niggas is like grizzly bears when it comes to their kids, you know what I mean? So you kinda gotta be cautious of that. Like, you could have had a dad in your life and he was just a bitch ass nigga. You know what I mean? Or you could have a dad in your life that's so overprotective of you that he'll never let you take your bumps and bruises. He handles everything for you. You know what I mean? So if he handles everything for you, how the fuck you gonna learn critical thinking and problem solving on your own and shit? So you'll handicap your children that way as real dudes and shit, genuine dudes. You have to understand and be conscious of that, and don't rob your sons and daughters of that type of shit. Tell your motherfucking daughters no, man. You understand? Or you just gonna raise a motherfucking pretty princess entitled in the motherfucker that ain't no nigga gonna never fucking stay around for. But here, let me go back to that original shit I was talking about. You know what I mean? Because now I'm starting to get warmed up and shit. You might have worked out better. Now, you know where we come from. You know our oranges always stem from some slavery shit and shit like that and the trauma that comes from it. And you got to realize that we've been on a repeating loop with traumatic behaviors and shit like that. It's filtering out now. There was no therapy for us. You know what I mean? This generation is the generation that's like, hey, man, let's go to therapy. You know what I mean? Which, you know, what we always consider therapy like, man, some white people shit. But it gets even deeper than that. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't no white people shit. You just got to remember that there was no such thing as therapy. We were considered 3/5 of a man, a fucking animal. Who the fuck want to hear the feelings of an animal? You know what I mean? Like, you don't got no feelings, motherfucker. You know what I mean? So there was no room for therapy. Motherfuckers could sit there and be like, man, yeah, go to therapy. Like, is you disillusioned with what the fuck we was, motherfucker? You know what I mean? Like, go to therapy. Who the fuck wants to hear the thoughts, opinions, feelings, and experiences of a motherfucking animal? Like, man, you don't have feelings. Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, get the fuck out of here. So you got to understand that when you're talking now. You know what I mean? Once I said, like, man, we a part of that first generation that was, like, born completely free. So this is the space, and these are the generations where motherfuckers are even considering that. Our grandparents couldn't even consider that. They were like, man, that's why our grandparents always tag that shit like, man, that's some white people shit. You know what I mean? Go no motherfucking therapy. Because there never was they couldn't sit on nobody's couch. You know what I mean? Motherfucker would have sat up there and told them, our grandparents would have sat up there and told them about their experience and shit, man. They would have reported them motherfuckers into a nut house, man. You know what I mean? Like, man, this motherfucker, we were raised by the people who were considered 3/5 of a man. Yeah, that's why we don't believe in therapy. That's why this generation now is the ones believing in the therapy. But I do want to absolve your fathers because I'm a father. I empathize with the fathers. You know, like them little family secrets and shit that we don't talk about? You know, there's that uncle, like, you know what I mean, or that cousin and shit you just don't leave your kids around and shit like that. Yeah, that nigga got kids. Yeah, he was a deadbeat for a fucking reason. And he knew he was a deadbeat for a motherfucking reason. You ain't never considered that, did you? Yeah. He was a deadbeat for a reason. He saved you by being a deadbeat. Because some shit that might have been in him might have been the reason why he was a deadbeat. Might have been the reason why he ain't come around you. Maybe your mom ain't know that. You know what I mean? Maybe your mom didn't understand those types of things. And then you got to look at the type of men that we are and what our generation raised and shit like that. A lot of your motherfucking dads was cold motherfucking gangsters, man. Straight real niggas, man. Fools. A lot of you niggas ain't got your dad's last name. A lot of you niggas and women don't got your dad's last names. Yeah, it might have protected you with that. Ain't no telling what wild shit your daddy got into. So a motherfucker might have protected you by putting you over here and putting him over here, way far away from you, so you can be raised without all the bullshit. Now, if you done been around dudes like that, you understand how they move. You understand the motherfuckers don't be in public a whole bunch. You're not gonna have fun with dudes like that around. You understand? The best thing that your dad might have could have did was remove his motherfucking presence from your life. and just said, man, you'll work out better without me. Because you don't know the trauma that your dad dealt with. Here's some things that I understand about the generation before mine, our father's generation. In an attempt to elevate their children, our grandparents sent their sons and daughters to a lot of those Catholic institutions and shit. And in a lot of those like Catholic institutions and shit, it's just now coming out now. No knock to the Catholicism in the Catholic Church, you know what I mean? I'm a Protestant myself. What you think they did to them little black boys and shit like that? Them little black girls and shit. Now this is your dad and them generations. They was the first motherfuckers that was allowed to go to them Saint Cyrils and Saint, you know what I mean? Saint Angers and all that, you know what I mean? What you think they did to them? Yeah, you got to consider certain things and shit. You know what I mean? So in an effort to better their educational standards and shit like that, they sent them to the motherfucking Catholic schools, and when they sent them to Catholic schools, there might have been some things that happened to your folks that fucked them up completely, and they never told nobody. Mind you, we are a race of traumatized people who had to shut up about it. We just had to take our licks and shut up about it, and that's just how it always been. You know what I mean? That's why that's why we so fucking strong. Because we always had to take some shit and just keep it pushing and deal with it and process it however you process it. But, you know, everything is like a powder keg. Over time and shit, if you look at a human body the way that you look at a powder keg, or the way that I think about it, here's to draw a visual to it. Ghostbusters 2. If you look at Ghostbusters 2 and shit, the premise was the slime, you know what I mean? The pink slime, the river of slime, where if you talk positive into it and shit, play Jackie Wilson, the slime gonna make a toaster dance and shit like that. You know what I mean? It's gonna be happy. But if you scream negative shit at it, that shit's gonna react aggressively. And then it's going like, you know what I mean? Do some wild shit. Well, if you equate that to a human body and shit like that, it's the same thing. Stimulus is stimulus. When you talk positivity into something and shit like that and you nurture it, it's going to grow a little bit happier than when you try to raise it to be tough. Well, that's why a lot of us is raised off of that tough love shit, because that's what they experienced. So they had to just keep it going. Like, man, the world gonna be hard on you because it was hard on me. Like the shit, the world ain't. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I gotta prepare you for it first. Like, well, no, the fuck you don't. You know what I mean? Like, you really don't have to do that. You can give me all the love in the motherfucking world and just prepare me for what the fuck a motherfucker gonna do when he comes. You can tell me. You ain't gotta be mean to me too and shit. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, you know, I'm not a believer in tough love. I'm a believer in being stern sometimes and shit, but I'm not a believer in tough love because it draws a line. And this is how I look at tough love. Sometimes you motherfuckers forget to bring the love. You know what I mean? You know, you could be tough on a motherfucker, but you have to reinforce it with the love after. A lot of times we come up in situations where it was just tough. And I always equate it like this because I sat back and thought about it. Like, I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't knocked upside the head and shit like that. I got my ass spanked, but I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, the love can't be too tough, because if a motherfucker, when you get back and you look at the love, look back and you look at the tough love that you received and be like, damn, there was never no love in it. The same way that you loved me and called it tough love is the same way that I display when I hate somebody. Then all the fuck you did was raise me hating me and shit. Like, yeah, fuck all that. And that's when it's on us to break the motherfucking cycles and shit. But you know, back to your dads. Back to your motherfucking dads. I'm a black dad and all that type of shit, you know what I mean? I'm a little stern with my babies and shit like that, but I love the fuck out of them. Overly affectionate and the motherfucker, I'm protective as hell. Your dads might have spared you, man. You got to remember that we come from some generations where the dudes before us went through some shit that we didn't have to go through. A lot of them didn't, and they went through it in mass. You understand? They went through it, a lot of them motherfuckers. We didn't have to go through that type of shit. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers kind of had our best interest in heart in a lot of ways, even if you had it tough. You know what I mean? But a lot of motherfuckers from our pops generations and them, I mean, them niggas was fucked up. As proof of it, all you gotta do is go watch movies from like the eras your dad was raised in. That'll tell you everything you need to know. That'll tell you what their conditions was, because you know movies ain't shit but period pieces. They're just pins in a point in time. So if you go back and be like, damn, you watch JD's Revenge or some shit. My pop told me, like, yeah, man, I was like 13. I went to go see that shit down the garden. You know what I mean? And I go back and watch JD's Revenge or Superfly, or you know what I mean? The movies, the blaxploitation movies from that time, like, damn, that was their conditions. And then watch some of the serious movies. You know what I mean? Like, damn, that was their conditions. That's what they grew up in and shit like that. Like, that was their mind state. And then you watch the movies from your generation. Watch the movies that you grew up watching and see the difference. That'll show you the conditions that they were raised in versus the conditions that we were raised in. You understand? And shit, I come up idolizing The Last Dragon and Crush Groove, House Party and all that type of shit. You know what I mean? My pop and them grew up with Superfly, JD's Revenge, Dolomite and all that type of shit. You go back and just examine it, and man, you get to understand your fathers a little bit more. There's a whole generation of men out here, and I know some running around out this motherfucker mad as fuck at their dads because they never got to have that conversation, or they haven't self-actualized enough to realize, like, nigga, you're your dad. You got some problems with your kid's mom crazy in a motherfucker, she mad and shit like that. And here's some also, let me drop something else heavy on you. My nigga, your mom might not have been your dad's main chick. You was out here you out here slaying bitches, ain't you? You know what I mean? You was in your prime, you was knocking shit down, right? Yeah. Your mom's a saint, right? Because that's your mom, that's the motherfucker you raised you. You can't even consider that. You might not be that far into your manhood yet where you consider it like, damn, mom might have been on some freak shit back then or something. Or she might have just been freak for dude. You know what I mean? Your pop had to be that nigga or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Maybe that's the case. So you got to kind of look at it like, it just is what the fuck it is sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, he might not have been, your mom might not have been your pop's main girl. That might have been the reason. It might have been some issues, and then it might have been too far gone. A lot of dudes, a lot of men, especially in my generation, didn't get to sit down and have their dad's motherfucking point of view. And you niggas done watch Snowfall and all that type of shit. Nigga, they said, I just watched Joe and Jada's podcast the other day. And Fat Joe a little bit older than me and shit, salute to them, you know what I mean? He said, like, when crack first came out, like, it was some fly shit. Like, man, smoking crack was some fly shit. I'm like, damn. That's how they got it. That's how that shit got all of our dads. All of our dads and moms, because it was some cool shit. It was a party, some party shit. Well, we see how that shit turned out, right? Niggas stopped coming to school with new school clothes and new school shoes and shit like that. You know what I mean? So that, you know, you kind of got to give yourself some space, especially if you a real nigga. Like, especially if you've been through it. You know what I mean? Especially if you've been through it. And give you a little bit of background on me so you know I'm not just shouting shit out the mouth. Because there's a lot of motherfuckers I see on this internet where you can tell. Like, man, a lot of motherfuckers are speaking opinions that they don't wholeheartedly believe in because they ain't really been through it. We're not the dudes playing dress up. Like, I'm telling you, we're not the dudes playing dress up. My personal history, without delving too deep into it, is, man, I done did 16 years in the penitentiary. I got tried as an adult when I was 16 years old, did 8.5 years in big boy camp, came home for 10 months, went back and did another 7.5 years. Been home like 15 years now. You know what I mean? Living, enjoying, having babies and shit. You know what I mean? But there's just some things as men that you have to sit down with yourself and understand. There's a lot of unresolved conflict. Niggas are still mad at their dads. But somehow, like, we cranked out a generation for some motherfuckers that didn't have dads in mass, we cranked out a generation of solid ass dads, yo. Like, I don't know no deadbeats, yo. Like, I just don't know none. Or if I do, I don't know too many. I know some niggas with some situations. Like, I definitely know some niggas with some situations, like, man, kids, mom, new dude, pop. The pop done called mom a bitch one too many times, you know what I mean? Pop just can't get right. Pop wasn't not there, Pop just got locked up. Pop was just that type of dude. Pop got locked up, had to do 10 or 15 years and shit. Mom got mad as fuck around year 2 or 3. She been talking shit for the rest of the motherfucking time and shit that Pop ain't shit. But Pop ain't went nowhere. The nigga still locked up sending the babies cards and shit. Mom just might not send him the Mickey Mouse cards and show the babies the Mickey Mouse cards and drawings and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, you got to understand that, and I'm here to kind of absolve your dads because I empathize with the dads. Once you lose your father, you'll start empathizing as a father. You can have empathy for the sons and look at things from a son's perspective when you are a son. You know what I mean? Or once you have kids and your kids start getting of age, you start going through little, if you're not with your kid's mom no more and you start having little conflicts with your kid's mom, you will start wondering like, damn, did my dad go through this type of shit? That's when you'll start empathizing with the dads. Now, I just had this little light bulb moment earlier in my damn self. It was I start thinking spiritually. You know what I mean? I start thinking spiritually. I think in spiritual terms a lot. You know what I mean? I'm a praying man. So I don't run around and like broadcast it and all that type of shit. I kind of just live it. You know what I mean? I kind of live it. And I started thinking about, man, the Holy Trinity. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and the Holy Spirit. And I'm like, wow, that's like the 3 stages of understanding as a man. Like, you will empathize as a son. You will empathize as a father. And then one day you're going to have to empathize as a spirit. You'll be a son, a father, and a Holy Ghost if you did your motherfucking job right. So you kind of got to understand it from that point in perspective. You can have understanding as a son, understanding as a father, and one day you're going to be gone. And then there's going to be a little boy or a little girl looking to understand you while you're no longer here. So that's the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit part of it. You know what I mean? You know, God's a man. I know y'all want to I know the nature of men. You know what I mean? And the nature of women. And I know this new trendy thing is God is a woman, man, God's a man. That's masculine energy like a motherfucker. God's too emphatical. You understand? God's too understanding. God's too forgiving. That ain't feminine energy, baby. You know, women do some wild shit. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, women. You just do. And that's no knock. That's no knocker to downplay you at all. You are the creators and the birthers, you know what I mean? You give forth life. God's energy is masculine and motherfucker. But you know, there's some things that the men in our generation have to consider about your dads, and even the generation down. There's still some motherfuckers in our generation that turned out to be motherfuckers that got high and had a whole bunch of shit happen to them. Or man, them niggas was smooth motherfucking hitters. Boy, your motherfucking dad might have been a fool out here. Nigga, the best thing he did was split away from you. Just to protect you from his motherfucking mistakes. Say in the Bible, you know what I mean? The sins of the father may be visited upon the heads of his sons. Yeah. If that's true, then your daddy might have did you a favor by not being around you. And don't think that doesn't weigh on your dad's shoulders either. You know what I mean? Like, just as a man, as a father who's been in my kids' life since they've been born, that would weigh on my shoulders. Like, it would weigh heavy on my shoulders. So I'm pretty sure it weighed heavy on your father's shoulders and shit. You understand? Like, you don't have a stock in those situations and just not care about them. Now, maybe I'm not going to say everybody's like that, man. Some motherfuckers just might have been that. You know what I mean? You got to look at it as the type of men that you are is the same type of men that your dad is. There's a situation where you ain't want this chick to get knocked up or have a baby and shit, and yet and still she said, fuck that. I'm going to fuck this nigga's whole situation up. And I'm having it, nigga. What? You know what I mean? I'm having it. And Pop said, man, I told you I ain't want shit to do with that shit. And you got to be cool with it. As a man, nigga, you got to be cool with it. Like, man, maybe I wasn't wanted. You still here, nigga. You know what I mean? You still here. You still doing your motherfucking thing, ain't you? Nigga, millionaires that came up out of them situations. Nigga, there ain't no mistakes. You supposed to be here. You niggas gotta stop being so traumatized about sucker shit like that and be like, man, there ain't no mistakes. Nigga, I'm supposed to be here. I don't give a fuck what the origins was or what the origins is or whatever it is. Nigga, I'm in this bitch. You know what I mean? And that's just what the fuck it is. It's not like absolving absentee dads or anything like that, but it is giving you a perspective to go on because of what we come from. You know what I mean? The things that we come from have shaped us into who we are. If you great and you didn't have a dad, wasn't no stopping it, was it? It just wasn't no motherfucking stopping you. You know what I mean? Like you was gonna be the shit regardless. Some niggas had a dad, nigga, and they bums like a motherfucker. Can't keep a bitch, can't get along with everybody, and can't stand they motherfucking dad. You watch the TV shows and you can see the dynamics sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, man, there ain't no excuses, nigga. There's some niggas that didn't have moms too. You still turned out to be you, nigga. Don't be that motherfucking mad at it. Don't be that mad at a man for being a man. Ain't no motherfucker perfect and shit like that. And that's when you know you looking at it from a son's perspective. You ain't looking at it from a father's perspective. Because once you get into a father's perspective, you start looking at it like a father. Like, goddamn, I'm just a man. I'm a dad and shit like that. Some of you niggas is grandparents. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm just a motherfucking man. All right, now take that same grace and give it to the nigga before you. The nigga whose face you probably got. Give him that same grace like, damn, dude was just a man. And that nigga might not have been a better man than you. He might not, you gotta think about that. Your dad might not have been a motherfucking better man than you. Pop might not have been that dude, yo. He might not have been as solid. He might not have been as thorough. He might not have been as stoic. He might not have been able to brush off temptation or be like, man, yeah, all right, well, nigga, smoking crack was fly in your era. But in my era, nigga, you's a sucker, nigga, you know what I mean? You gotta understand that. Your dad just might not have been the man that you is and shit. You can't be mad at the nigga for that. Because he spared you that, for real. His absence spared you that. And as a father, you have to understand that. Like, damn, that nigga spared me some wild shit. You know what I'm saying? That nigga might have been spending our food stamps and shit, nigga. I might not have had them J's. My mom made sure I was clean. My mom made sure I was fly as hell. Now imagine your crack smoking ass dad in that motherfucking house and shit like that. And he the man of that motherfucking house versus you being the man in the house. You was the man in your mom's life. You understand? You was the man in your mom's life. You took precedence and shit like that. Imagine your motherfucking pops, if your pop got high or some shit or whatever the fuck it was. You understand? These are hypotheticals, not, you know what I mean, specifics. You have to understand that, like, man, your pop might have taken away from you. So if you didn't have your pop and that was your story and shit like that, man, it might have been for the best. Even though you would have liked him to have been there, you know what I mean? Sometimes, man, a woman's work is never done. That's why we salute black moms around this motherfucker, because I know a whole bunch of them. You know what I mean? I be on your ass at the motherfucking pee-wee football games and shit like that. You know what I mean? I don't want you if you ain't got about 2 or 3. You know what I mean? Because then loving my 2 ain't no big deal. You know what I mean? So it's like kind of, you know, all that internet shit where niggas is running around downplaying the shit out of single moms and all that type of shit. Like, man, you know, there's millionaire niggas, you know what I mean? Like, in our world, that shit's impractical as fuck. The average man running around here got 2 or 3 his damn self. You know what I mean? You got 2 or 3 your damn self. Some of the motherfuckers is grown, but you still got them, you understand? So, like, it ain't really no big thing of, like, it's not really a big thing to be step pop. It's actually some cool shit. You know what I mean? Some of the realest motherfucking situations, parenthood situations, is motherfucking step pop situations. You know what I mean? This is all that high value man's never gonna want a single mom and all that shit, man. We real niggas. We don't run from shit like that. You know what I mean? We don't run from shit like that. Yeah, we understand if you a package. We understand you a package deal. You know what I mean? Niggas like, man, all right, well, that's not some intimidating shit for me and shit like that. I don't got to deal with your motherfucking kid's dad. You know what I mean? I got to deal with you and shit. You know what I mean? And even if I do, nigga, I ain't mad at that neither. All right, what's up, man, nigga? Niggas ain't running from that type of shit. Real niggas tend to not. We don't look at your motherfucking kids as like baggage or no weird shit like that, man. That ain't interesting. Take that internet shit some fucking weirdos, man. Niggas is corny for that. You know what I mean? I told you, man, it's a lot of niggas masquerading as what the fuck we really are. Real niggas, man. That come from where the fuck we come from. You know, the millionaire niggas can afford to be like that. You know what I mean? But when you in this level of the world, you live pretty practical. You know what I mean? I ain't turning down my motherfucking nose at a good woman that got 2, 3 motherfucking cool ass kids or some shit like that when she's a great motherfucking woman. Especially if you talking about dating. If you ain't a bum nigga, you not gonna pick a bum bitch. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? Like if you not a bum nigga, you not gonna pick a bum. You not gonna pick a bum chick. So you know what I mean? We ain't talking about like, man, a chick that got 3 kids and she's a dust ball or some shit like that, and that's who I'm fucking with and all that type of shit. Like more than likely, she gonna be a woman of some substance and some character any motherfucking way. You know what I mean? So more than likely, she's raising kids that got substance and some type of motherfucking character anyway. So you can't be nothing but a helpful addition to give some motherfucking structure and some guidance and shit like that. You know what I mean? Man, you trust me, you'll be saluted. You know what I mean? Niggas on the net getting mad about their job. Well, I raised that little girl from the time she was born, and then when it came to graduate, she invited her real pop and didn't leave a ticket for me. So the fuck what? Nigga, be a fucking man, nigga. It's fucked up, but it is what it is. Be a man about it. Nigga stand in the background and be like, man, salute, baby, you looked great. You know what I mean? You looked great. Don't forget me on that college graduation. Because that's what real niggas do. Nigga, you ain't always gonna get the fucking fanfare and the motherfucking parade, but nigga, ain't nothing supposed to stop you from being solid. Nothing. You could be upset about it and shit like that. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just gotta draw. As a man, you also have to know how important it is to draw your fucking line too. Like, this is my line and I don't let nobody violate that line. You ain't stepping a toenail across that motherfucking line. So maybe that's what that was. You know what I mean? A motherfucker like drawing a line on a situation. I personally thought it ain't holding no grace. I thought you supposed to just sit back and take that shit on the chin like. That shit's not even supposed to bother me. Like, yeah, man, I did that because when if you raised her, if I'm in that position, if I raised that little girl from here, then Pop was along the whole time for her to wanna, maybe she invited dude because she wanted to rub it in his face. You know what I mean? Or whatever the fuck the situation is. Pop was along the whole time, but you ain't getting no motherfucking ticket. You're supposed to be like, well, yeah, that's what's supposed to happen. I ain't that mad about that, you know what I mean? Because you did it from the heart. If I'm here, I did it from the heart, and nothing's gonna take that back. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know what I mean? She want Pop to walk her down the aisle and shit. Yeah, you gotta understand that's her dad. She's always gonna be reaching out for that. You understand? She always wants to, especially if she didn't have that. She had you, my nigga, and you did a great job, but there's a chance that they might wanna still be reaching out for that connection of the motherfucker that made them. You know what I mean? And that's where, once again, strong shoulders, man. Nigga, you're a man. You gotta have strong shoulders. You gotta be able to take those little letdowns and shit and understand, like, nigga, I'm still a real nigga. I'm still solid. I'm still a motherfucking man. And I did what niggas do. And I don't need no big fucking fanfare. Niggas sit in your rocking chair and be like, yeah, I'm the realest. So it's kind of like a salute to dads, and there's some shit that a lot of niggas in our generation just haven't understand. I'm gonna tell a small story about my man. I ain't gonna say his name and shit like that, but my man, he was the one that put me on this track of thinking some years ago. He was like, man, I was mad at my dad and shit like that because dude wasn't around and shit. He was like, man, I ain't even know no motherfuckers from his side of town. He was like, matter of fact, my nigga, he was like, you was the one that told me who my family members was. When I told you what my dad's last name was, he was like, Snipe, you told me who my family was. Like, shit, nigga, I know your whole family. He was like, you knew my family and I ain't know my family. He was like, man, when I first came across my motherfucking dad, came back across my dad, he was like, man, I asked him, like, yo, nigga, you wasn't near all the motherfucking years for me? Like, man, what's up, Pop? Where the fuck was you at? You know, my man's a real nigga. He was like, man, my pop kept it so fucking funky with me, I couldn't do nothing respect it. He said, my pop was like, man, here, man, you wanna know the truth? Nigga, I ain't even know if you was mine for real. He was like, man, you got a kid's mom? You got kids and shit, right? He's like, you be going through, you with your kid's mom, you be going through shit with her and shit like that? He was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, that was me and your mom's situation. He was like, I don't mean no disrespect when I tell you that. He was like, I just didn't know, I didn't even know if you was mine. I didn't know whether to be there or not. And she wasn't too motherfucking invitational when it came to me trying to be around you and shit. She was more on the fuck you tip. And I had to understand that there because I had a situation with my cousin. And the first thing I thought about was my cousin. Like, damn, that's exactly how my aunt was when it came to my cousin's dad. Like, man, fuck out of here. Nigga, get you out of here. You know what I mean? Like, nigga, you got us. You know what I mean? You don't need you. Whenever you pop up, you pop the fuck up. Don't nobody give a fuck type shit. You know what I mean? We ain't looking for you. We got this. Some of you niggas got to understand that that's your situation. Your mom ain't telling you that and shit because sometimes moms, you got to understand how women are, especially if you of a certain age range. You know how women is. Women are territorial as fuck, especially when it comes to the things that they raise. Nigga, if you ain't been around or she don't want you to be the fuck around, like, no, this is mine. You know what I mean? This is why you niggas be like, man, she won't let me see my son and all that type of shit. Like, man, that's what she's doing. She's very territorial. Like, no, nigga, this is mine. You niggas got to realize, like, nah, man, like, yours too. And like, you did that work too. You 50% on that too. You know what I mean? Y'all want half on that motherfucking baby. You 50% in on that. You got rights too. I'm going to tell you how, you know what I mean? Bitch, man, you tearing my ass to fuck up out of child support and shit like that. Like, yeah. That happens. That's fucked up, you know what I mean? Like, that's fucked up. I ain't gonna bullshit you, like, fucking you up with child support. You know, you wanna know how to get around child support? File for partial custody. File for partial custody. Child support, but you gotta spend time with your kids. That shouldn't be no problem, should it? Kids get to know who your motherfucking, who your family is and shit like that. They get to have that dual identity. You know what I mean? They know mom's side of the family, but they growing up with yours too and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, file for partial custody, man, nigga. Go get your motherfucking babies, man. You know what I mean? Like, that ain't no big thing, you know what I mean? That should be a pleasure. Have your motherfucking kids around you. Give them a taste of your style, man. That type of shit. Niggas bitch about child support. All you gotta do, man, is file for partial custody, man. Spend time with your motherfucking children, man. Unless you don't want to. You might like it that way, nigga. You might need an origin story, something to bitch about, you know what I mean? We ain't like that over here. You got rights too. I don't give a fuck if you a felon or not. You was a felon when you had them. You know what I mean? Like, man, you was probably a little street nigga when you had the motherfuckers in the first place. She knew what the fuck she was fucking. She knew what she liked. You know what I mean? She knew what the fuck she liked. She liked you, nigga. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't know he was like that. Yes, you did. You knew that nigga was slinging iron. You know what I mean? You knew that nigga was, you know what I mean? Fuck out of here. You know what I mean? That nigga was in a 4X tall tee. Fuck is you talking about? He was in a 4X tall tee, bulgy and a motherfucker on the hip. I ain't know he was like that. Yes, you did. You know what I mean? That nigga went down, did a nickel, 7.5 to 15 or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, now he ain't shit. You know, you stinging this nigga for child support while he locked up making 42 cents an hour. Come on, ma. Come on, ma. You know what I mean? My nigga, you got rights too. You want to get around that shit, man. Just love your babies, yo. It ain't too fucking late. Like, man, I'm going to go file for motherfucking partial custody. You know what I mean? I'm going to go file for partial custody. That way I get 2-3 days with my kids out the week and shit like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's just what it is. It's not to absolve deadbeats. But I want you to understand that a lot of you niggas might have worked out better by not having a dad in your life, especially you successful niggas. What you think you was going to be like more successful if you had a dad? Like, nigga, you got like 3 million or some shit like that. You be like, man, if I had had a dad, I'd have 16. Like, nah, nigga, you might have been a fucking bum, nigga. You know what I mean? Your dad would have coddled the shit out of you, nigga. You might have been a fucking bum. You know what I mean? My pop was a man like me. You know what I mean? I can't take nothing from my dad. I can't sit here and be like, man, I'm better than my dad and shit. I could say that shit, but then I'd be like, look around for the nigga, for his fist coming out the motherfucking joint. Like, nigga, you're not better than me. I had way more kids than you did, nigga. You know what I mean? I can't really say that. But I wasn't coddled by my pop neither, you know what I mean? My pop was a rough one. You know what I mean? Not like, man, he beat the shit out of me or no shit like that. My pop was a man just like us. So you're looking at my dad. When you look at me, you're looking at a great representation of my dad. You know what I mean? Just a little bit more family tune shit. My pop, I like to say my pop was harder than me. You know what I mean? Like my pop was harder than me and I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? But it's not to absolve any motherfucking deadbeats, but really this is kind of geared toward the motherfuckers in our generation that need some closure. There's some things that you haven't motherfucking understood. Some things that you may have needed to consider, like, yo, man, your dad might have just been, he might have saved you, yo, by not being around you. He might have handicapped you. He might have crippled you. On some real shit. Your pop might not, he might have been a fuck nigga. And he might have drug your mom down to the mother. He might have drug you and your mom down to shit. You might have fucked around and wind up beating your dad up, nigga, or shooting your motherfucking dad if your dad was around or some shit like that. You might have hated men fucking with your dad. You might have resented every bit of authority that ever came your way just for having a dad in your life. You might not have tried as hard if you had a dad. You understand? You know, salute your mothers, man. But your dads might have did you a favor, nigga. Your dad's not being in the motherfucking picture might be the reason why you are where you are. Some of your dads was motherfucking cold killers, nigga. That might be why you ain't got that nigga's last name. That might be why that nigga ain't served that much, signed that motherfucking birth certificate. There's some things that you need to consider, especially coming up out of our generation and the generation before you. I told you, all you gotta do is watch the movies from the era that when they grow up in, and that's, like, man, I don't know my dad. Watch the movies from when your pop grow up, and I'm guaranteeing you, one of them characters in the motherfucking black ass movies and shit are a representation of who your dad was. Now, all you got to do is cross-reference it with some shit your mom said, and you be like, all right, dude was probably like dude there. And that might be the reason why you understand why your pop might not have been around a lot. Especially you niggas that got pops that did time. Like, come on, yo, that ain't his fucking fault. You know what I mean? It ain't like just because your dad had you, he ceased to be his own fucking person. You know what I mean? Like, he don't cease to be his own person. He don't cease to, like, not want shit or something like that, or still got to provide or some shit. Like, man, I don't know my pop. My pop did 20 years and shit like that, bitch ass nigga. Like, man, what the fuck is you talking about? What the fuck is you talking about? How fucking goofy you sound? You think if he had a, you know what I mean? Like, man, that nigga made a choice. No, he didn't make a choice, nigga. You're black. You're black. You know what I mean? We're black here. We're black motherfucking men. You know goddamn well that nigga ain't had no fucking choice in that. You know goddamn well he ain't had no motherfucking choice in that. Nigga, this is just how it's designed, man. Nigga, these are our circumstances. Niggas mad at y'all motherfucking dads because he did some motherfucking time. You know what I mean? Like, nigga, my mom found out I was pregnant with, you know what I mean? My dad got locked up, found out my mom was pregnant, man. They gave that nigga 25 years. That nigga just came home 2 years ago and shit. Some shit like that, bitch ass nigga. I don't even fuck with him. You mad at your motherfucking pop for some shit that happened before he even knew of your existence. Like, come on, man, y'all being a little bit too hard on y'all pops, and that's why certain things happen to y'all, because you lack empathy. That might be the reason why you with a woman that don't respect you and a woman that cheats on you, because you lack empathy, and you're not even trying to be emphatical for the person that came before you. Understand that, man. We just men, man. Ain't none of us gods, nigga. We flesh, blood, and bone over this motherfucker. So it's like you have to understand that from there. Like, men are men. You're going to be imperfect. A lot of times, you're going to go, as a man, you may sway towards your wants, more toward the needs of somebody else. Just because you have a child does not mean you cease to be, or you cease to be a person that has his own wants and desires and shortcomings and shit like that. You know what I mean? So just try to consider the perspective. Sometimes it might ease some of that anger and that rage that you got in you and shit like that. I know a lot of niggas is running around out here looking at their moms a little bit different these days and shit, because they they did get to get their dad's side of the story and shit. You know what I mean? They did get to get their dad's side of the story. But you know, I don't know no fucking deadbeats. I know some niggas whose whole personalities is designed around being a dad. Like, that's all they is. Like, man, damn, dog, you ain't got no personal interest in you and shit. You just somebody's dad, huh? Is that what happened because you didn't have a dad or some shit like that? Like, man, you gotta be careful with that too, man. You still deserve to be your own motherfucking person. That's because when you put yourself in that type of position and shit like that, if your kid's mom is one of them type of chicks that knows that, she will turn them screws on you like a motherfucker. She can control you now. She like, you know what I mean, deny you access. No disrespect to women, but yeah, y'all need to understand that that's what you can do. If a woman hates you, she'll do that shit to you. She'll twist the motherfucking screws on you because she know you care too much. You understand? Like, make sure you remain you, my nigga, and ease some of that anger in you and shit by understanding your motherfucking pops is it's a good possibility, man. Your pops was a real nigga. He might have been too real. He might have spared you some shit. But you know, that's pretty much all I got for today and shit. You know what I mean? Super salute. This is an episode toward black men, the wayward black men, the stoic black men, the solid one, black fathers, black fatherhoods, being black. You motherfuckers gotta stop acting like being black ain't like being on the other side of the circumstances of being black as well. You know what I mean? Like, nigga, you subject to a lot of pitfalls. You better start understanding, you better start understanding other people's black ass issues too. You can sit there and say like, man, you know, motherfuckers doing this shit to me because I'm black. What the fuck you think happened to your dad? You know what I mean? The pitfalls of being black, nigga, in America and shit. Pitfall, you know what I mean? Your uncles and shit like that. Like, nigga, yeah, like, man, stop that shit. You know what I mean? Stop that shit. Nigga, you run around here knocking all these motherfucking bras off and shit like that, but you draw the line when it comes to your mom. That's a hard conversation to have with yourself. That's a very hard conversation to have with yourself. And I ain't going in on nobody's mom personally and shit like that, but that's a hard conversation. That would be a very sobering thought to have. If you look at your motherfucking mom and be like, damn, my mom just might have been one of my pop's hoes or something. One of his broads or some shit like that. Like, she wasn't the one he was in love with or some shit like that. Damn. That fuck you up. You know what I mean? But you gotta be good with that. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta be good with that. You gotta be so motherfucking like, damn, well, good one, Pop. You know what I mean? Good one, nigga. You know what I mean? I'm here. I'm in this bitch. You know what I mean? Doing my thing. You know what I mean? I don't get to quoting motherfucking lyrics and shit like that. My mom loved telling me like, man, you was planned and all that type of shit. But man, I told a motherfucker before it was a gorgeous decision on my mom and pop's part to fucking breed. You know what I mean? Like, it was a gorgeous decision. Like, man, I said that shit to my dad before. Like, man, every time you get to talking shit, like, man, stop acting like like it was a pain having me. Nigga, you had a great night. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nigga, you had an excellent night that night. The night that you made me, you got everything that you wanted. And obviously my mom did too, you know what I mean? Like, this wasn't like some painful shit. Like, man, nigga, hey, man, shut the fuck up, B. Like, man, yeah, whatever. You had a great night, man, nigga. So whatever pain I caused you, whatever dumbass decision that I made where you had to be like, man, fuck, man. You know what I mean? Like, nigga, you had a great time. I don't want to hear that shit. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, damn, I gotta get up on this ass or some shit like that. No, you look forward to that. Like, I'm about to knock her block off. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, Mom. You know what I mean? But that's just what it was. Like, get the fuck out. You know what I mean? Like, you had a great time that night. Just sit your ass down somewhere. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, like, I just want you to like understand some things about your dads and the generations that came before us and shit. You know, like I said, man, we kind of knew the freedom. A lot of them motherfuckers was traumatized. A lot of your dads was fucking gangsters, man. A lot of your dads got caught up in trying to be too fucking fly. And a lot of your moms knew that. They just didn't tell you the real fucking story, so they made some shit up. Like, man, baby, I protected you. I kept that nigga away from you. Because if I'd have let that nigga be around you, you might have been just like him. And I couldn't let you do that. You know what I mean? A lot of y'all moms protected you, my nigga. And shit, nigga, you just because you had a dad don't mean you could have had a thoroughbred, nigga. It ain't like you was gonna have me for a dad. How about that? It ain't like you was gonna have me for a dad. You know what I mean? You might not have gotten me or Big Bruce or, you know what I mean, as a dad. You know what I mean? You might have got a cold bitch ass nigga. You know what I mean? Your dad might have been a stalker for real. You would have been mad as hell seeing your dad get trashed by the local hood niggas. You would have been embarrassed as shit, yo. In middle school, your dad's getting sauced. You know what I mean? Getting tough with the local young niggas. They put the sloppy on him. Now you're embarrassed as hell. That's your pop or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Yeah, be easy with that. Nigga, we black, man. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's my motherfucking piece for the day and shit, man. These shorts is young as fuck, man. You know what I mean? Salute, man.